Bully humiliates orphan boy. But when he opens the backpack, everyone is shocked. Tyler Johnson shoved the orphan boy against the school wall with unnecessary force, making all the surrounding students stop to watch what seemed like just another display of power from the most feared bully at Lincoln Elementary School in the neighborhood of Hopeville, Chicago. The boy in the yellow shirt clutched his black backpack as if it held the world's most precious treasure. "Let me see what the orphan's hiding in there," Tyler shouted, yanking the backpack from Ethan Miller's hands, the 12-year-old boy who had arrived at school just 3 weeks earlier, coming from the city shelter after his adoptive mother, Mrs. Margaret, got temporary custody. Ethan tried to get his backpack back, but Tyler was bigger and stronger. The other students formed a circle, some laughing nervously, others just watching silently. The teacher, Jennifer, was in a meeting, and the playground was unsupervised during recess. "Orphans shouldn't even be here," Tyler continued, swinging the backpack in the air. "You'll just infect everyone with your shelter germs." The words cut deep into Ethan's heart. He didn't choose to be an orphan. He didn't choose to spend the first 8 years of his life in a shelter that caught fire on a winter night, taking away everything he knew. He didn't choose to lose his little sister Emma Rose in that terrible fire. "Please give it back," Ethan whispered, his eyes brimming with tears. "There's something really important in there." Tyler laughed loudly, making the other students laugh too. "Important? What could an orphan possibly have that's important?" he mocked, starting to unzip the backpack. When Tyler fully opened the backpack, silence fell over the playground. Inside, nestled between notebooks and pencils, was a small white and grey rabbit trembling with fear. Around the animal's neck, a handmade tag read, "Hope, my only friend." Everyone stopped laughing instantly. Even Tyler was speechless, unsure what to do. It's a rabbit," stammered a 5th-grade girl named Olivia. Ethan held out his shaking hands toward Tyler. "Please, give me Hope back. She's all I have left of my sister." "Your sister?" asked another student, Madison, stepping closer. Ethan wiped his tears and looked around at everyone. "My little sister Emma Rose got Hope when she turned 5. She was her pet at the shelter. When the fire happened, I only managed to save Hope. Emma Rose asked me to take care of her forever." The circle of children grew even quieter. Some began to feel uncomfortable with the situation. Tyler, still holding the backpack, looked at the trembling little rabbit. "This is ridiculous," he said, but his voice sounded less confident than before. "You can't bring animals to school. It's against the rules." "I don't hurt anyone," Ethan said, stepping forward slowly. "Hope is well behaved. She just stays in the backpack during class. At recess, I give her food and water." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. At that moment, Principal Barbara appeared in the playground, drawn by the crowd of students. "What's going on here?" she asked, approaching the group. Everyone fell silent. Tyler was still holding the backpack with the rabbit inside. "Ethan brought a rabbit to school," Tyler said, handing the backpack to the principal. "I was just checking." Principal Barbara looked inside the backpack and was surprised to see the small animal. "Ethan, you know you can't bring animals to school," she said, but her tone was more concerned than angry. "I know, Principal, but Hope has nowhere else to go. Mrs. Margaret works all day at the Johnson family's house, and if I leave her alone, she gets very sad. She whimpers all day long." The principal observed the little rabbit, which now seemed calmer in Ethan's careful hands. "Come with me, Ethan. Let's talk in my office." As they walked, Ethan whispered softly to Hope, "Don't worry, little one. I'll figure something out." In the principal's office, Ethan told his whole story. How he and Emma Rose had lived at St. Francis Shelter since they were babies. How his sister was the most important person in his life. How she adored the little rabbit they'd received from a volunteer. "The night of the fire, I woke up smelling smoke," Ethan said, gently stroking Hope. "I ran to Emma Rose's room, but the flames had already taken over. I could only grab Hope, who was hiding under the bed." Principal Barbara listened silently, her heart aching at the boy's story. Emma Rose always said Hope would take care of me when she wasn't here anymore. It's like she's still with me through Hope. Ethan, I understand your situation, but we have rules. Other parents might complain. It could cause allergies, accidents. I understand, Principal, but if you knew how much Hope helps me. When I have nightmares about the fire, she stays by my side. When I feel alone, she reminds me I'm not completely alone in the world. The principal looked at the boy and the rabbit. It was a delicate situation. The rules existed for good reasons. But she also saw a boy who had lost nearly everything and was clinging to the little he had left. I'll think about what we can do, Ethan. For now, I need you to take Hope home and not bring her back to school until we sort this out. Ethan lowered his head, knowing this was the fairest answer he could hope for. When he left the principal's office, he found Tyler waiting in the hallway. "Listen," Tyler said, glancing around to make sure no one was listening. "I'm sorry about what happened earlier." Ethan was surprised. Tyler had never apologized for anything before. "It's okay," Ethan replied. "You didn't know." "Yeah, I didn't know about your sister and all that, but I still think it's weird bringing a rabbit to school." Ethan sighed. "I didn't want to, but Mrs. Margaret works from 7 in the morning to 6 in the evening. Hope stays alone all day in the tiny apartment we rent in Hopeville. She was used to always being around people at the shelter." Tyler was quiet for a moment. "Where do you live?" 45 Flower Street. It's a one-bedroom. I sleep on the couch, and Mrs. Margaret takes the bedroom. Hope sleeps with me." Without another word, Tyler walked away, leaving Ethan alone in the hallway. That afternoon, Ethan walked home with Hope in his backpack. Mrs. Margaret was making dinner when he arrived. "How was school today, dear?" Mrs. Margaret was a 68-year-old woman who had worked her whole life as a housekeeper. She'd never had children of her own, and when she heard about Ethan's situation, she decided to apply to be his temporary foster mother. "There was some trouble with Hope, Mrs. Margaret." Ethan told her everything that had happened. Mrs. Margaret listened patiently, shaking her head. "I knew this would cause problems, Ethan, but I also know how much Hope means to you. What are we going to do?" Mrs. Margaret sighed, looking at her work-worn hands. "I don't know, dear. I work from 7 to 6. I can't quit my job. That's how we make ends meet. And we don't have money to pay someone to look after Hope." Ethan understood the problem. Mrs. Margaret earned only minimum wage working at the Johnson family's house in Oak Park. That money paid for the apartment rent, food, clothes, and everything else. "I'll figure something out, Mrs. Margaret. I don't want to cause any more trouble." That night, Ethan barely slept. He kept looking at Hope, who slept peacefully beside him on the couch. The next day, Ethan went to school without Hope for the first time in 3 weeks. All morning, he worried about her being alone at home. During recess, he found a quiet corner in the yard and watched the other kids play. He didn't have many friends at school yet. He was the new kid, the orphan, the different one. "Hey, Ethan," said a voice behind him. It was Olivia, the 5th-grade girl who had commented on the rabbit the day before. "Hi," Ethan replied. "Where's your rabbit?" "I had to leave her at home. The principal said I can't bring her to school." Olivia sat down beside him. "I thought it was cool that you had a rabbit. I've never seen one up close before. Hope is really sweet, and smart too. She knows when I'm sad." "What do you mean?" Ethan smiled for the first time that day. "When I'm sad or scared, she comes close to me and stays quiet, just keeping me company. When I'm okay, she gets playful and hops around everywhere." "That's so neat. You're lucky to have her." "Yeah, she's all I have left from my real family." Olivia was quiet for a moment. "Your sister must have loved you a lot to leave Hope with you." Ethan felt his eyes filling with tears. "Emma Rose was the best sister in the world. She always took care of me when I was sick, always shared her food with me when I was still hungry, always stood up for me when the older boys picked on me." "How old was she?" 8. "Only 3 years younger than me, but she always acted like the older sister, you know, always protecting me." Olivia didn't know what to say. She'd never met someone who had lost someone so important. "That must be really hard." "Yeah, but Hope helps me remember the good things about Emma Rose. When I play with her, it's like Emma Rose is playing too." Just then, Tyler appeared. Olivia tensed, expecting him to start picking on Ethan again. "Ethan, can I talk to you?" Tyler said, but his tone was different, more serious. Olivia stood up. "I'll leave you to it. Bye, Ethan." When Olivia walked away, Tyler sat where she had been. "Listen, I really wanted to apologize for what happened yesterday." Ethan looked at Tyler, surprised. "It's okay, Tyler. You already apologized yesterday." "Yeah, but yesterday I only apologized because I felt bad about your rabbit story. Today I want to apologize because I realized I was really cruel to you." Ethan didn't quite understand. "What do you mean?" Tyler looked at the ground. "Last night my mom told me some things about you, about the shelter, about your sister. She heard it from the principal, who's her friend." "Oh. And then I realized you've been through way worse things than anything I've ever gone through. And even so, you're not mean to anyone. You don't pick on people." Ethan didn't know how to respond. "I pick on everyone because, I don't know. I guess I'm scared people won't like me." "But why would you be scared of that?" Tyler sighed. "Because my parents fight all the time. My dad's always traveling for work. And when he's home, he just argues with my mum. Sometimes I hear them say that if it weren't for me, they'd have split up already." Ethan was surprised by the admission. "But that's not your fault, Tyler." "I know, but I still get mad at everything. And then I take it out on other people." The two boys sat in silence for a moment. "Do you want to meet Hope for real?" Ethan asked. "What do you mean?" "I can show her to you after school today, if you want, of course." Tyler smiled, and Ethan noticed it was the first time he'd seen a genuine smile on his classmate's face. "I'd love to." After school, Ethan and Tyler walked together to the apartment on Flower Street. It was an old building, with peeling walls and stairs that creaked with every step. "This is it," Ethan said, opening the door to apartment 23. The apartment was small but clean and tidy. Mrs. Margaret hadn't gotten home from work yet. "Hope!" Ethan called. The little bunny darted out from under the couch, running straight to Ethan. He scooped her up and turned to Tyler. "This is Hope." Tyler slowly reached out, letting the rabbit sniff his fingers before petting her. "She's really gentle," Tyler said, impressed. "Emma Rose taught her to be like that. My sister had a special way with animals." Ethan set Hope down and she began hopping around the apartment, exploring. "She loves to play," Ethan said, "but she gets sad when she's alone too long." Tyler watched the bunny darting around the living room. "Why don't you leave her at a neighbor's during the day?" "I've tried, but the neighbors either work or don't want the responsibility. And I get it. Taking care of a pet isn't easy." "What if—" Tyler stopped mid-sentence, as if reconsidering. "What if what?" "Never mind, it was a crazy idea." "Come on, Tyler." "Well, I was thinking, my mum is home in the afternoons. She only works mornings at the office, and we have a backyard. Maybe she could take care of Hope during the day." Ethan's jaw dropped. "You'd do that?" "I can ask her. No harm in trying, right?" Just then, Mrs. Margaret came home from work, carrying 2 grocery bags. "Ethan, sweetheart, you're here," she said, setting the bags on the kitchen table. "Oh, you must be a friend from school." "Mrs. Margaret, this is Tyler." "Tyler, this is my adoptive mom, Mrs. Margaret." "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Margaret," Tyler said, standing from the couch. "The pleasure's mine, Tyler. Would you boys like a snack?" While Mrs. Margaret prepared a snack, Tyler shared his idea about caring for Hope during the day. "Oh, Tyler, that would be wonderful," Mrs. Margaret said. "But we don't want to trouble your family." "It wouldn't be trouble, Mrs. Margaret. My mom's always wanted a pet, but my dad always said it was too much work. If it's just during the day, maybe he won't mind." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now, back to the story. The next morning, Tyler arrived at school earlier than usual. He found Ethan in the courtyard, sitting alone on a bench. "So, did you talk to your mom?" Ethan asked eagerly. Tyler grinned. "I did, and she said yes." Ethan jumped up from the bench, hardly believing it. "Really? She agreed to take care of Hope? She did. She was actually excited about it, said she's always wanted a little companion. I can't believe it, Ethan said, grinning from ear to ear. There's just one condition. She wants to meet you and Mrs. Margaret first, to talk about care and everything. Of course, when? How about after school today? I can take you both to my house to introduce you. Ethan could barely focus in class that day. He kept imagining Hope playing in Tyler's backyard, no longer lonely and sad in the apartment. After school, Ethan stopped by home to pick up Mrs. Margaret and Hope. The three of them walked together to Tyler's house in Oak Park, a very different neighborhood from where they lived. The house was spacious, with a front garden and a backyard. Tyler greeted them at the door alongside his mother, Christine. "Nice to meet you, Mrs. Margaret," said Mrs. Christine, greeting the woman. "Tyler told me about you." "The pleasure is ours, Mrs. Christine. We don't know how to thank you for this kindness." "No need to thank me. It'll be a pleasure to have Hope's company." Ethan opened his backpack and took out the bunny, who immediately began exploring the new surroundings. "Oh, she's beautiful," said Mrs. Christine, crouching down to pet the animal. "She's very gentle and obedient," Ethan explained. "She eats twice a day and always needs fresh water." Mrs. Christine led everyone to see the backyard. It was a large space with grass, a few trees, and a flower bed. "Here, she can run around freely," said Mrs. Christine, "and I have a covered area in case it rains." "It's perfect," said Mrs. Margaret. "Hope will be very happy here." They agreed that Ethan would bring Hope every morning before school and pick her up in the evening. Mrs. Christine said she didn't want any payment, just the animal's company. As they were leaving, Tyler pulled Ethan aside. "There's something I haven't told you yet." "What?" "My mom doesn't know, but I overheard her talking to the principal on the phone. Some parents are complaining that you brought a rabbit to school. They want a meeting to discuss it." Ethan's stomach turned to ice. "What kind of complaints?" "They say it could be dangerous, that it might carry diseases or cause allergies, stuff like that." "But I don't bring Hope to school anymore." "I know, but I think it's too late. The meeting is next week." Ethan went home worried. Even with Mrs. Christine's solution to care for Hope during the day, there was now a new problem. The following Monday, Principal Barbara called Ethan and Mrs. Margaret into her office. "I'm sorry to say this, but some parents were upset about the rabbit situation at school last week," the principal explained. "They want a meeting to discuss whether Ethan can continue studying here." Mrs. Margaret turned pale. "But Ethan hasn't brought the rabbit back, and we've arranged a place for it to stay during the day." "I know, Mrs. Margaret, but parents are worried he might bring it again. Some are even questioning whether a child who brings animals to school belongs in a regular institution." Ethan felt tears welling up. "Principal, I promise I'll never bring Hope again, or any other animal. Please don't take me out of school." Principal Barbara looked at the boy with compassion. "Ethan, I don't want to remove you from school. You're an exemplary student, but I need to listen to the parents and find a solution that satisfies everyone." "When is the meeting?" asked Mrs. Margaret. "Thursday at 7 in the evening. You'll have a chance to explain the situation and defend your position." Leaving the school, Mrs. Margaret and Ethan felt disheartened. "Don't worry, son. We'll figure it out." But Ethan could see in Mrs. Margaret's face that she was just as worried as he was. On Tuesday, Tyler found Ethan during recess. "I heard about the meeting," he said. "My mom will have to defend me in front of a bunch of parents who don't want me studying here," Ethan said sadly. "Listen, I want to help." "How?" "I'll ask my mom to go to the meeting and speak in your favor." Ethan was surprised. "Your mom would do that?" "I already talked to her. She said she will, and more. She'll try to convince other moms too." "Why? Why are you helping me so much?" Tyler was silent for a moment. Because you taught me something important, Ethan." "What?" "That being strong doesn't mean being cruel to others. Being strong is going through bad things and still staying a good person." Ethan's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, Tyler." On Wednesday, Olivia approached Ethan in the schoolyard. "Ethan, can I talk to you?" "Of course, Olivia." "I heard about the meeting tomorrow. I told my mom about you and Hope." "What did she say?" "She was really moved by your story, and she said she's going to the meeting to support you." Ethan couldn't believe he was gaining support from people he barely knew. Really? Really? And more. She talked to 2 other mums from our class. They're going to support you too. For the rest of the week, several students came to talk to Ethan. Some to offer support, others just curious to learn more about his story. Ethan realized many kids related to him in some way. There was Sophia, whose mother had passed away the year before. There was Noah, who lived with just his grandmother because his parents worked in another city. There was Taylor, who felt left out for wearing glasses and braces. All these kids understood what it felt like to be different, to feel alone. On Thursday evening, Mrs. Margaret and Ethan arrived at the school for the meeting. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. The room was full. On the right side were the parents who supported Ethan. On the left, those who questioned his place at the school. Principal Barbara opened the meeting by explaining the situation. We're here to discuss the incident involving student Ethan Miller, who brought an animal to school. We'll hear all sides and come to a fair conclusion. The first to speak was the father of a 6th grade student. Principal, our concern is safety and hygiene. Animals can carry diseases. They can cause allergies. What if this becomes a trend and all the students start bringing pets? Other parents agreed, raising concerns about responsibility and school rules. Then Mrs. Christine, Tyler's mother, asked to speak. I'd like to tell you about Ethan, she said, standing up. This boy lost his family in a fire. He lost his home, his toys, his clothes, his memories. The only thing left was a little rabbit that belonged to his baby sister. The room fell silent. You're worried about rules and hygiene. But I ask you, where is our compassion? Where is our humanity? Olivia's mother stood up. Mrs. Christine is right. My daughter told me how kind Ethan is to everyone, even after all he's been through. How many of us would have that strength? One by one, the mothers supporting Ethan began to speak. They talked about the boy's maturity, how he never bothered anyone, how his resilience inspired their own children. When it was Mrs. Margaret's turn to speak, she stood with trembling hands. I'm not good with words, she began. I'm a simple woman who worked all my life as a housekeeper. I never had children of my own. She looked at Ethan sitting beside her. But when I met Ethan at the shelter, when I heard his story, I knew God had put him in my life for a reason. This boy, at 12 years old, has more wisdom and kindness than many adults I know. Mrs. Margaret wiped a tear from her face. He's never complained about our humble life, never asked for things I can't give. The only thing he wanted was to keep the memory of his sister close, and you want to take that from him? The room was completely silent. Some parents shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Then Ethan stood up. Can I speak too? The principal nodded. I know I caused trouble by bringing Hope to school, and I promise it won't happen again. I've already found a place for her to stay during the day. Ethan looked at all the parents present. I don't want to be a problem for anyone. I just want to study, make friends, have a normal life. If you don't want me to stay here, I understand. Note: the translation strictly follows the provided cultural mappings, maintains the original structure and tone, and ensures natural dialogue flow while preserving all plot elements. But know that I never meant any harm to anyone, and I never will. At that moment, Tyler stood up in the audience. Can I say something too? The principal was surprised but allowed it. I'm Tyler. I was the one who took Ethan's backpack on the first day and found the rabbit. All eyes turned to him. And I want to apologize to everyone here, but especially to Ethan. I picked on him because I thought he was different, that he didn't belong here. Tyler looked at Ethan. But I realized I was wrong. Ethan isn't different because he's an orphan. He's special because he's a better person than me, better than a lot of people I know. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, back to the story. The whole room was moved by Tyler's words. Even the parents who had been against him began to reconsider their stance. The father who had spoken first stood up again. I have to admit, I might have judged the situation too quickly. Hearing you all, I realize this isn't just about rules, it's about humanity." Other parents began to agree. The meeting, which had started as a trial, turned into a moment of reflection and compassion. Principal Barbara spoke up. "I believe we've reached a consensus. Ethan will remain our student, and we've all learned a valuable lesson about empathy and solidarity." The whole room applauded. Ethan couldn't hold back his tears of relief and gratitude. After the meeting, several parents approached Ethan and Mrs. Margaret to introduce themselves and offer help if needed. "If you ever need anything, Ethan, you can count on us," said Olivia's mother. "Thank you, Mom. Really, thank you." As they left the school, Tyler ran after Ethan. "Hey, Ethan." "Hi, Tyler. Do you want to come over tomorrow and spend more time with Hope? My mom says she's adjusting really well to the backyard." Ethan smiled. "I'd love to." That Friday after school, Ethan went to Tyler's house to pick up Hope and ended up staying for a snack. Mrs. Christine made sandwiches and juice, and the three of them sat in the backyard watching the rabbit play. "You know, Ethan, I've been thinking," said Mrs. Christine. "What is it, Mrs. Christine?" "How about if Hope stays here during the week? That way you don't have to worry about her during class and she'll have company and space to play." Ethan was torn. On one hand, he knew it would be better for Hope. On the other, he was afraid of being apart from her. "You can come here every day after school to play with her," Mrs. Christine continued, "and on weekends she'll go home with you." "What do you think, Ethan?" Tyler asked. Ethan looked at Hope, happily hopping around the grass. "I think it would be good for her, but what? What if you get tired of taking care of her? What if she's too much trouble?" Mrs. Christine smiled. "Ethan, we offered because we want to. Hope is already part of our family now." "It's true," Tyler agreed. "She even has a special little house my mom bought for her." Ethan felt a strange warmth in his chest. It was as if he was slowly gaining a new family. "Okay, we can try." And so, a new routine was set. From Monday to Friday, Hope stayed at Tyler's house. Ethan went there every day after school to play with her and help take care of her. On weekends, the little rabbit returned to the apartment on Flower Street. Weeks passed, and Ethan began to feel more at home at school. He made new friends besides Tyler and Olivia. His grades improved because he wasn't worried about Hope during class. Mrs. Margaret also felt more at ease, knowing Ethan was happy and that Hope was well cared for. But the story still held some surprises. One Tuesday afternoon, Ethan arrived at Tyler's house to play with Hope and found Mrs. Christine on the phone, speaking softly in the living room. "Yes, doctor, I understand. No, he doesn't know yet. Okay, thank you." When Mrs. Christine hung up, she noticed Ethan standing at the door. "Hi, Ethan. How was school today?" "It was good, Mrs. Christine. Is everything okay? You sounded worried on the phone." Mrs. Christine hesitated for a moment. "Well, it's about Hope, Ethan." Ethan's heart raced. "What's wrong with Hope? Is she okay?" "She's fine, yes, but I took her to the vet this week for a routine checkup." "And?" "The doctor found something important. Hope is expecting babies." Ethan's jaw dropped. "Babies? What do you mean?" "She's pregnant, Ethan. She'll probably have 3 or 4 baby bunnies." Ethan didn't know whether to be happy or worried. "But how did this happen?" Tyler walked into the room just then. "Hey, Ethan, did my mum tell you the news?" "I just did," said Mrs. Christine. "Ethan, the vet said Hope was probably already pregnant when you brought her here. It must have happened at the shelter before the fire." Ethan sat on the couch, still processing the information. "So I'm going to have 3 or 4 tiny little Hopes?" "Not exactly," said Mrs. Christine, sitting beside him. "Ethan, taking care of 4 or 5 rabbits is a lot more work and responsibility. And it costs a lot more money, too." Ethan understood where she was going. "You won't be able to keep all of them. It's not just that, Ethan. You and Mrs. Margaret don't have the means to care for so many animals either. So, what are we going to do?" Tyler sat on the other side of Ethan. "We thought of a solution. When the babies are born and ready to leave their mum, we can find good families to adopt them. But I don't want to say goodbye to them," said Ethan, feeling his eyes well up. "Ethan," Mrs. Christine said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Sometimes loving someone means doing what's best for them, even if it's hard for us. Ethan thought about her words. It's like what Emma Rose did for me, right? She asked me to take care of Hope because it was best for her, even though she knew she wouldn't get to play with her anymore. Exactly, Ethan sighed. Can I at least meet the babies before they go to other families? Of course, said Tyler, and we'll make sure they go to really good families who'll take great care of them. That night, Ethan told Mrs. Margaret about Hope's pregnancy. Oh my sweetheart, what news? She said. How are you feeling? I'm happy and sad at the same time. Happy because I'll get to meet Hope's babies, but sad because I'll have to say goodbye to them. I understand, Ethan, but you know it's the right decision, don't you? I do. Mrs. Christine said something that made me think that sometimes loving someone means doing what's best for them, even when it's hard. Mrs. Margaret smiled. Mrs. Christine is a wise woman, and you're becoming a very wise young man too. The following weeks were full of anticipation. Ethan visited Hope every day, watching the changes in her body as the pregnancy progressed. The vet said the babies would be born in about a month. During that time, something unexpected happened at school. Teacher Jennifer proposed a project about responsibility and caring for animals, inspired by Ethan's story. Class, you all know Ethan and Hope's story, she said one Thursday morning. How about we do a project about pets and the responsibility we have toward them? The whole class got excited about the idea. Each of you will research a different animal and present to the class the necessary care, the benefits of having a pet, and the responsibilities involved. Olivia raised her hand. Teacher, can I research rabbits? Of course, Olivia. And Ethan, how about you help us as a rabbit expert consultant? Ethan turned red but smiled. I can help, teacher. Over the following weeks, the whole class got involved in the project. Each student researched a different animal and prepared amazing presentations. When presentation day arrived, Ethan was nervous. He had never spoken in front of the whole class before. Ethan, can you tell us about your experience taking care of Hope? Asked the teacher, Jennifer. Ethan stood up, took a deep breath, and began. Taking care of Hope taught me a lot. First, that having a pet isn't just about playing with them. It's waking up early to feed them, cleaning up after them, taking them to the vet when needed. The class listened attentively. Second, animals have feelings. Hope gets sad when I'm sad, happy when I play with her. She misses me when I'm away for too long. Ethan glanced at Tyler, who was smiling and giving him a thumbs up. And third, sometimes loving someone means letting go of what you want to do what's best for them, or for that animal. After the presentation, several classmates came to congratulate Ethan. You spoke really well, Ethan, said Taylor, the girl with glasses and braces. Thanks, Taylor. Your story inspired me. I think I want a pet too, but only when I'm sure I can take good care of it. Ethan smiled. It felt good knowing his experience was helping others think about responsibility. 2 weeks later, on a Saturday morning, the phone rang early in Ethan and Mrs. Margaret's apartment. Hello? Mrs. Margaret answered. Mrs. Margaret, it's Christine. Hope's babies were born. Ethan, who was having breakfast, dropped his cup. They're here, how many? 4. 2 boys and 2 girls. All healthy. Ethan couldn't finish his breakfast. He wanted to run straight to Tyler's house. Slow down, sweetheart, said Mrs. Margaret. Let's get ready and we'll go right over. When they arrived at Tyler's house, Ethan rushed to the backyard. Tyler was sitting near Hope's little house, watching the babies. Ethan, come see. Ethan approached slowly. Inside the little house, Hope was lying down, nursing 4 tiny, furry, pink little creatures. They're beautiful, Ethan whispered, careful not to scare the babies. They're still really small, said Tyler. My mum said their eyes won't open for about 2 weeks. Ethan watched the scene for a long time. Hope looked like a proud and caring mother. What should we name them? How about you pick the names? Tyler suggested. Ethan thought for a moment. The 2 boys can be Jack and Noah, and the 2 girls can be Anna and Rose. Rose after your sister? Yeah, I think she'd be happy knowing there's a little bunny named after her. Mrs. Christine walked over to the boys. Ethan, You know in about 8 weeks we'll have to find families for them, right? I know, Mrs. Christine. But can I spend this time playing with them and teaching them what Emma Rose taught me? Of course you can, sweetheart. The next few weeks were magical for Ethan. Every day after school, he ran to Tyler's house to see Hope's babies. First, their little eyes opened, small and round, looking at everything with curiosity. Then, they started leaving the little house and exploring the yard. Ethan taught them simple commands, just like Hope had learned from Emma Rose. "Come here, Jack," called Ethan, offering a lettuce leaf. The little bunny came hopping toward him. Ethan also taught the baby bunnies not to be afraid of people. He would always pick them up gently, petting them slowly. Tyler helped with their care, and the two boys grew even closer during this time. "You know, Ethan, I never thought taking care of animals could be this fun," said Tyler one afternoon. "It really is, but it's also a big responsibility." "That's true. Now I understand why you were so worried about Hope." Meanwhile, at school, the pet project had become the talk of Lincoln Elementary. Principal Barbara was so impressed with the outcome that she decided to create a permanent education program about responsible pet ownership. "Ethan," she said, calling him into her office, "would you like to be our program ambassador?" "Ambassador? What would I have to do?" "Help other students who want pets, give talks about proper care, that sort of thing." Ethan felt proud of the invitation. "I'd love to, Principal. Wonderful. And we have a surprise for you." "What surprise?" The principal opened her desk drawer and pulled out a certificate. "This is a Student of the Year award. You're being recognized not just for your grades, but for your example of responsibility and perseverance." Ethan was speechless. He had never received such recognition before. "We'll hold a ceremony next week to present the certificate. Your adoptive mother and friends will be there." When Ethan told Mrs. Margaret about the award, she cried with emotion. "My boy, I'm so proud of you." "Thank you for adopting me, Mrs. Margaret, for giving me a chance to have a family again." "Thank you for bringing so much love into my life, Ethan." The week of the ceremony, something unexpected happened. Ethan was at Tyler's house playing with Hope's babies when Mrs. Christine got a call. "Hello?" she answered. "Mrs. Christine, it's Olivia. My mom would like to talk to you about adopting one of the bunnies." Ethan stopped playing and listened closely. "That's wonderful, Olivia. Can you and your mom come by tomorrow to talk?" After hanging up, Mrs. Christine turned to Ethan. "Ethan, the first family interested in adopting one of the babies." Ethan felt a mix of happiness and sadness. "It's Olivia's family. At least I know they're good people." "They are, and I'm sure other good families will come forward too." The next day, Olivia arrived with her mother to meet the bunnies. Ethan watched as they chose which one they wanted. "This one is really affectionate," said Ethan, showing them Jack, one of the males. "He's beautiful," said Olivia's mom. "And are you sure you're okay with letting him go?" Ethan took a deep breath. "I'll miss him, but I know you'll take good care of him. And he'll have a family all his own." Olivia smiled. "Ethan, you can visit Jack whenever you want. We live near the school." "Really? Really? That way you can see for yourself that he's doing well." Ethan felt better knowing that. Over the next week, 2 more families came forward wanting to adopt the other bunnies. One was the family of a 4th grade classmate, and the other had heard the story from their teacher, Jennifer. Ethan met each family personally and was relieved to see they were responsible and caring. "Noah is going to Michael's family, Anna is going to the Williams family, and Rose is going to Mrs. Rose's family," Ethan summarized for Tyler. "And you're okay with this?" "I am. It's strange, but I'm happy too. It's like Hope's family is growing and spreading across town." On the day of the certificate ceremony, the entire school gathered in the courtyard. Ethan was nervous, but also very happy. Principal Barbara called Ethan to the front in front of everyone. "Ethan Miller, on behalf of the entire school community, we present you with this exemplary student certificate. You've taught us about courage, responsibility, and compassion." Everyone applauded. Ethan saw Mrs. Margaret crying with emotion, Tyler smiling proudly, Olivia and other friends giving him thumbs up. When Ethan took the microphone to speak, he looked at the whole school and said, "Thank you for this recognition." But I want to say that everything I learned came from my sister Emma Rose and Hope. They taught me that love means caring, protecting, and sometimes giving up what we want to do what's best. Ethan looked at Mrs. Margaret. And family isn't just who we're born with. Family is who chooses to stand by us and love us as we are. The entire audience was moved by the boy's words. After the ceremony, there was a celebration at the school. Ethan was talking with his friends when the principal approached him. "Ethan, there's a surprise for you." "Another surprise?" "Yes, come with me." The principal led Ethan to the school entrance, where a new plaque had been installed. Hope Program, Education on Animal Responsibility. "Ethan, we decided to name our program in honor of your little bunny. The Hope Program will help other children learn about animal care." Ethan was emotional seeing Hope's name on the plaque. Hope would be so happy if she knew this. "She does, Ethan. I'm sure she does." In the following weeks, Hope's babies went to their new families. Ethan visited each of them and was pleased to see how happy and well cared for they were. Jack, who went to Olivia's home, became the most playful of all. Olivia sometimes brought him to school during Hope Program events. Noah, who went to Michael's family, adapted very well to the large backyard they had. Michael would tell Ethan all about Noah's mischievous adventures. Anna went to the Williams family, who had 2 young children. Ethan was happy to hear Anna had become a great companion for them, and Rose went to Mrs. Rose's home, a widow who lived alone and wanted company. Mrs. Rose called Mrs. Christine every week to share how Rose was growing up beautiful and healthy. "You know, Tyler, I thought I'd be really sad after the babies left," Ethan said one afternoon while playing with Hope in the backyard. "And you weren't. I was a little, but I was also happy. It's like Hope created a whole family across town. Wherever I go now, I find a little piece of her." Tyler smiled. "You've changed a lot since you came to school, Ethan." "How so?" "You arrived here just being the orphan boy with a rabbit. Now you're Ethan, the one who inspires everyone, who cares for animals, who has so many friends." Ethan thought about his friend's words. "I don't think I've changed, Tyler. I think I just learned to show who I always was, inside." A few months later, Ethan was at school during a Hope Program event when he received news that would change his life forever. Mrs. Margaret appeared at school in the middle of the afternoon, which was very unusual since she was always working at that time. "Ethan, my dear, I need to talk to you," she said with a different kind of smile. "Did something happen, Mrs. Margaret?" "It did. Something very good." Ethan was curious. "What is it?" Mrs. Margaret took a deep breath. "The judge approved our final adoption. You're officially my son now, Ethan." Ethan stood still for a moment, unable to process the information. "Your son? Forever?" "Forever, my love. Now you have a real home, a real family." Ethan hugged Mrs. Margaret tightly, tears of joy streaming down his face. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you for choosing me." "Thank you for choosing me too, my son." When Tyler heard the news, he ran to embrace his friend. "Ethan, this is amazing. Now you have a complete family." "It's true, and you know what? I think Emma Rose would be so happy knowing I found a new mom and a new family." "I'm sure she would." That night, Ethan was at home, his real home now, playing with Hope, who had come to spend the weekend with them. "You know, Hope, Emma Rose was right when she said you'd take care of me," he said, gently petting the little rabbit. "Through you, I found Tyler, Mrs. Christine, all my friends at school, and most of all, I found my new mum." Hope seemed to understand, nuzzling her tiny head against Ethan's hand. "Thank you for everything, Hope. Thank you for teaching me that sometimes the bad things that happen in life can lead to something truly wonderful." Ethan looked out the apartment window at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Jack was playing with Olivia. Noah was getting into mischief at Michael's house. Anna was keeping the Johnson family's children company, and Rose was easing Mrs. Rose's loneliness. It was as if Hope's family had spread across the entire city, bringing love and joy to every corner. "Emma Rose," Ethan whispered, gazing at the sky through the window. "Thank you for giving me hope. She really did take care of me, just like you said she would." A gentle breeze drifted in, like a tender reply from the little sister, who would always watch over him wherever she might be. Ethan smiled, knowing he had found his place in the world, not as the orphaned boy who had lost everything, but as Ethan Miller, beloved son of Mrs. Margaret, dear friend of Tyler, ambassador of the Hope program, and guardian of the most precious memory Emma Rose could have left him. Life had shown Ethan that sometimes the most painful beginnings can blossom into the most beautiful blessings, and that true love, whether from a sister, a little rabbit, or an adoptive mother, has the power to turn any sad ending into a new beginning filled with hope. The end of the story. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story about Ethan and Hope. Do you believe true love has the power to change lives? Share your thoughts in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe for more heartwarming stories.